This is the 2018 EDS Wellness webinar series. We're here with Megan Karanfil, and we are here to talk about patient advocacy. This is a pre-recorded webinar. We're doing a little bit of a difference change to provide extra education, extra information, bring different people from the community to the forefront. We're also trying to provide recorded content so that people have it, and we can allow those that help support our community a platform to share even more knowledge for those that might not know about them, where to find them, how to reach out to them, how to use the information that they provide. And Megan has a ton of information. She has a degree in molecular biology, biochemistry, bioinformatics, with a minor in health sciences and nutrition. She's also a patient advocate, a friend. She runs the Herds Nerd page on Facebook, where she tries to educate people and help them understand how to read research studies. She also is very involved in the volunteer aspect of the broader community with EDS support groups locally, organizations. She's here with EDS Wellness. So we're thrilled to have her here. And she has a wealth of information that is really important just for the community to help understand, as I always say, the basics, the biology behind just what's going on in our bodies and what's not, and how to handle the misinformation and lack of awareness that a lot of people really have with just understanding really what it is EDS, or what are the 14 now Ehlers-Danlos syndromes versus other hypermobility related disorders versus hypermobility spectrum disorders and all the other comorbid conditions. But Megan also feels very strongly, as I do, about just the basic biology and helping people understand the basics and sharing that and making sure there's no misinformation, but also really being there to help people understand how to advocate for themselves, how to advocate for others in a professional way that really helps them understand their rights, in a healthcare setting, but also help others if they're leaders, how to read research articles, how to decipher them. So we're here to have her, and we're thrilled to have her now. So thank you for being here.
Introduction. I feel like I went through all of this crap so that I can help as many people as possible, because honestly, it's an awful set of diseases that EDS Wellness deals with. Ehlers-Danlos, mast cell disease, dysautonomia. It's by no means easy to deal with.
We're not biased who's under the hypermobility related disorders.
In general, there's a lot of disparity among, men and women, and every 80 seconds a woman dies of a heart attack. Yet women are 7 times more likely to be misdiagnosed or discharged during a heart attack than men. That disparity is just incredible. Women are most often prescribed sedatives in lieu of pain medication, even after major surgery. Women just don't receive the same options as men in healthcare, and a lot of that is due not on purpose, but due to implicit bias that doctors have, and they're working on that. There are a lot of things in place, but there are things that we need to be doing to be taken seriously. And medical error is the 3rd leading cause of death in the U.S. We need to make sure that we are understanding enough to prevent error in ourselves, as well as educating our doctors so that they are prone to making less errors.
And listening and being willing to listen and not just necessarily dismiss us because we bring in a Google article that we've somehow researched. And I just talked about it earlier today. And there's something to say for those Google searches. There's a lot of graphics, whether it's on the medical side or it's on the patient side, both ways, really kind of condescending to the other side, talking about, lack of information. And we have a problem. We have to learn how to talk to each other better, but there is something to say for Google. My mother diagnosed herself with amyloidosis, cardiac primary amyloidosis, which is a horrible condition. It's the same protein that causes Alzheimer's, and that was after breast cancer. And I remember arguing with her provider that she's not functioning. And she looked up all her symptoms on Google. It was a long time ago too. And she sure enough was like, this is what I have. And there was nobody here to test for it, but we found it. We had to argue with her provider at the time, but there's something to say. There's nothing wrong with patients being advocates. As Dr. Hale says, we're the ones that have the most time to invest in our health and do research, but bringing that to a provider's clinic is important, how we spin it and also knowing how to handle it if they're not receptive. So that's why and also what to bring too.
So that's kind of my story with EDS is I was not satisfied with that. I didn't feel like I had fibromyalgia. I didn't feel like my nerves were oversensitive, and a lot of things that come with that. So that's why I went to school. I took an anatomy and physiology class, and that's where I started. And I fell in love with the way the human body works and breaks. And I became determined to figure out what was wrong with me. And I did. And I went to the right doctors. And, I even have a full exome sequence that says I have Ehlers-Danlos. It's, it's completely proven. And that was very, validating for me. But
the reason why you went into that field of study was actually very similar to mine for similar reasons, but also very different. And I know I'm older than you. Was your mom receptive, or was she not at the time?
My mom has Ehlers-Danlos too. She at first didn't understand. She didn't understand why I'd put the air conditioning down to 72 and waste all her money,
Oh yeah, I remember fighting with my father over the air conditioning and the heat.
Yeah, it was things like that nothing fit. And I didn't think I was even sick at that point.
No, it was just how you were built. It was just how your body was.
It wasn't until many years later when I moved out of the house.
Sensitive.
Yeah, that those things, and I didn't realize that that's what was causing my dizziness and all of my other symptoms. So I think a huge part of, advocating for yourself is understanding what's happening to your body. And a lot of times there's no way you can understand without doing a lot of reading about how the body works.
So I was asking you if she was receptive because the reason why both of us studied what we studied, whether it was me, public health, and you, whatever, it was very similar. I was searching for what was it, and I was fighting against it. I just wanted more control over something that I had no idea. I grew up with my mom and grandmother who were bedridden and my whole family who was sick. So, I didn't know, but my parents weren't receptive at all. There was definitely, I was built a certain way, and I was always so tired, so sensitive. So I was curious, being younger, was your mom more receptive?
Well, when I was younger, I had a lot of issues. I mean, from the time I was born, I cried all night long. I was always in pain or something. But I never thought of myself as a sick kid.
Me neither.
Until when I was an adult and I got in a car accident and I was in pain all the time that I was like, yeah, there's something actually wrong with me. I just had, stomach problems and dislocations and all sorts of stuff as a kid. I was like, this happens to everybody. I didn't really pay it any mind. I think a big important part in advocating for yourself is understanding what's happening with your body, how the body works. Kendra and I are going to do some webinars on some comorbid conditions to EDS and talk about the autonomic nervous system and how that works and how to distinguish some of your symptoms and communicate effectively with your providers. But
for sure,
we're going to do a general overview, about choosing